Big news for the Porsche 911 family. This is here the Porsche 911 facelift. This is also the Porsche 911 GTS in the update. And this GTS starts the hybrid age for the 911 family. But what exactly is it? Which hybrid system are they using? What are the pros and maybe the cons? You know that on the market at the moment, especially at the Mercedes colleagues here, also close to Stuttgart, there has been a lot of criticism about the hybridization of sports vehicles. But Porsche does it a little bit differently. How exactly and how good is the new 911 facelift? We will find out with Thomas Nautegefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go. First of all, visually you can see updated lower bumper, also with adaptive air intakes. This massively increases also the aerodynamics or the aerodynamic efficiency. So the CD value is now at 0.27 for the GTS. It was 0.32 before. So lower value there is way better because they can actually open and close just on demand if the air intake, the cooling is actually needed. New lamp unit also, so everything has been cleaned up. No lamps in the lower part. Everything here then in this round unit with this 4-dot design. This is the daytime running light. And the matrix lamps are standard now. These here are the optional HD matrix for even better high beam performance, that you can also save out some individual spots like in the vehicle in front of you and so on. Length here slightly longer because of the bumpers, 4.55 meters or 179 inches. A base 911 Carrera would come with 19-inch in the front, 20-inch wheels in the rear. This here, the GTS, 20-inch in the front and 21-inch in the rear. These are also here with the center lock caps, always a very cool racing styling. And you can see here yellow brake calipers. It's an option when you have the PCCB, the ceramic brake, and they are even bigger now in this facelift. This is also another option here on top. This comes with the carbon fiber roof. This especially brings down the weight on top of the vehicle. Of course, also very nice, sporty option. It won't make a big difference on normal road use and so on, but on the racetrack it might be different. Then you can see once again these really, really large hips and a new light signature in the rear. This is visually probably the biggest change, I feel. And this is like the standard signature, blacked out Porsche lettering here in the GTS and also 911 Carrera GTS badging here. The GTS also standardly gets this sports exhaust. It's an exclusive exhaust for the GTS. You can see the outer tips are the beauty tips. The rear ones are directly on the inside. If this is the case for the Autogefühl fake exhaust police, I think you can argue with that. They are directly behind it and the air goes through. It's maybe like a half fake exhaust. Slate gray here is, by the way, the color, not only of my, yeah, I think I worked really hard on this one today, didn't I? So slate gray is this new, rather dark gray color, but it also has like a, it's not a matte color at all, but it has some kind of a matte finish, I would say. I think really cool. And now look at that. So additionally to this new light signature, so you see here, the braking light is also the international sign for pause, basically, in the top. And of course, also in the lower part, you also see then the brake light signature. So yeah, I mean, most of the time you will see a 911 in front of you, not behind you. So this is a very cool signature, I feel. And also the turning indicators have also been reworked. Very wide, very visible left and right. This, of course, in here, in this case, the hazard light. And most obviously, it will also look differently in the front. Let's take a look at that. This is also a beautiful perspective, like this 3/4 rear perspective, always really beautiful. The 4-dot design, then also for the turning indicators or for the headlight lights. So I think visually, both from the light perspective and also the general, I think it looks even cleaner, even more distinctive. So visually, I really love the updates. What about you? Oh, and have you seen in the very lower part, left side is for all the sensors and right side is for the night vision. By the way, maybe you've already discovered this red vehicle here in the background. This is a convertible because most of the facelift, once again, as coupe, convertible and also as a Targa. But here the normal convertible, this is a normal 911 Carrera, so not the GTS, which would start with 19 and 20-inch wheels. But these are also the optional 20-inch in the front, 21-inch in the rear, so you can also get it for a normal 911 Carrera. Here with some aerodynamic function of the wheels at the side. This really striking red color here, by the way, is called Indian red. So I think it's a very lovely red color. And difference, what we can see visually from the rear is that we have here the standard exhaust. So they're a little bit deeper in there, not as large, not as black as the other one. And also here the bright Porsche lettering, if you're not in the GTS scheme. But other than that, you also get the very same light update here. And towards the front, actually, if we come around here, it's also interesting that these adaptive air intakes I've been talking about with the GTS are not present then here in the normal base model. Here you have these two horizontal elements, but still a very nice and clean look. So the GTS, once again, of course, gives you this, this darker, more sinister look here. Is always positioned not the quickest model, but definitely always like the model that screams out sportiness in a most extreme way, I would say, actually. But about sportiness is, of course, about the performance. I just deactivate the indicators now, and I open the service flap then here for you, because then we can talk about the engine. Most obviously, the 911 has always had the rear engine concept. So the only thing you can see here in the rear is this service opening here for fluids and so on, oil, and here on the right side and so on. So this is the only thing you can actually see. And let's talk about this new engine concept, because this is like a big thing here with the facelift. So actually this base Carrera would still start with the 3-liter 6-cylinder flat engine, now upgraded to 400 horsepower and 3.9 seconds in the acceleration figure for the coupe. The convertible is always 0.1 seconds slower at least. Even more figures being released at the later stage, but already a power upgrade for the normal 911 Carrera, because the base model now basically gets the old GTS engine also with the big turbos and so on. You also have sent 2 turbos in there then. But then the big news here for the GTS model that is introducing the hybrid. So first of all, why are they doing it? The background is EU regulations that everything that comes out of the exhaust needs to be even cleaner. And the thing is, when you are in regions of really high performance cars and you rev it really, really high, then it can happen that they run at a stage where there's just more exhaust fume which are not 100% filtered by all the systems and so on. So by regulations, they always want to fulfill everything, of course, really correctly and 100%. And so they need to think of a new system that if they go for the very high performance models, they can still fulfill all the regulations also in future. And that also means that, that's my estimation, not only GTS, but everything also above the GTS will now receive the following system. So first of all, it's a 3.6 liter 6-cylinder flat engine, so 0.6 cubic is basically increased. So that's the first thing. Then the system output is 540 horsepower. And you're here now at the acceleration figure of 3 seconds to 1 kilometers an hour. This is actually 2.9 seconds to 60 miles an hour. The convertible would be just 0.1 seconds slower, but this means these are acceleration figure that we so far actually had with the 911 Turbo. How does it actually work? You have 2 electric motors in there. One electric motor is powering the vehicle as well, and the other electric motor is there for the electric turbocharger. And this means here you only have 1 turbocharger, because at the same time they also wanted to keep the weight low. So the whole hybridization thing only adds 50 kilograms of weight. This was a very important thing for Porsche, that they keep the weight under 1.6 tons. Because we know that other performance hybrid systems, they add so much weight that it also affects the maneuverability of the vehicle. And here Porsche says it won't, and soon, of course, we can also drive it and maybe confirm or not. But yeah, I mean, if it's just 50 kilograms of weight, I think it should not affect the vehicle too much. Then another big question is, because that was a huge problem with the recent Mercedes hybrid models, do you have the maximum peak performance always available? The battery they use here is at around 2 kilowatt hours. And should I show you where it is actually? Because it's very interesting. So the normal 12-volt battery, which I still need, is now back in the rear, like on the right side on the rear. And the high voltage battery, it's actually a 400-volt system. That's also very interesting. It's almost like with fully electric vehicles, it's 400 400-volt system. So this bigger battery has now gone to the front. The front is actually untouched. This was also a development goal, that you still have the same frunk size here in the front, but then underneath here you have the high performance battery. So when you take off this plastic cover here, then the high performance battery is underneath right there. And so theoretically, at some point it does also drain, yes. But they mostly do that in the Sports Plus mode. So when you are at the Sports Plus mode, I think, hey, you maybe at the Nürburgring Nordschleife, then you want to hit one perfect hot lap, maximum performance, then it's depleted. In all other driving modes, they don't let the battery deplete, but it's being charged by the normal engine actually, or also with recuperation with 32 kilowatt maximum. That's pretty strong pretty strong recuperation already for a non-electric vehicle, so to speak, for non-EV. And so by that, in most cases, the battery will not deplete and you will always have the full peak performance. So on racetrack use, it can happen, but for normal road use, Porsche says usually that does not happen and you still have all the peak performance. So what's the goal of all that? First of all, cleaner exhaust fumes. That is like the environmental goal, fulfilling these regulations for that. At the same time, better performance. It's quicker now. And also one of the main things is the responsiveness of the throttle and that there's no turbo lag. So this electrification part actually eradicates the turbo lag. And yeah, when we do the driving event, we can then confirm that for you. But the first tests, what we've seen so far, already confirm that it actually works. So this then, yeah, all with the pro and con of the system. But you see that Porsche actually went for a, let's say, yeah, very interesting technology for the hybridization, but really kept it like sports car lightweight focus. That's why also why the normal 12-volt battery is like a small lightweight lithium-ion battery, which has the disadvantage that when we did some tests with the convertible and with the Targa already pre-facelift, it did happen that we actually depleted the battery, you know, when we are stationary, open and close the roof, played with the infotainment system, let the lights run. Of course, filming is always a special use case, but I can tell you, if you have a Porsche 911 in this new generation and you do these things while stationary, rather let the engine run, that there's no danger of the 12-volt battery being depleted. That was a very long explanation now for the whole engine concept in the system, but I think it was really needed to explain like what is the reason behind it, because there's so much talk and also so much criticism about hybrid technology. And I was also skeptical at first because I've seen a lot of hybrid concepts which I say like I'm not the biggest fan of, let's say. But this year, to me, it seems to make sense. But when I drive it, then I can confirm it or not. Interior is, of course, another thing. So this being a GTS model, it's all about microfiber or race text, how Porsche calls it. And you have also this new structure here, more race text than here. Very small door pockets, as we know, but they have also this felt covering, at least from the inside. And then 911 Carrera GTS badge. Also standard a race text steering wheel. I like that. So this interior here would be the, let's say, most animal-free for the 911, which would also be my choice. It's not entirely animal-free on the outside. They don't use high-grade leatherette right here yet. And here on the seat, you also see, once again, the new structure. This looks a little bit different than on the inside of the doors, but it adds more structure to the whole microfiber material. GTS then on the top of that. So let's get inside. And you also have a new cockpit. And these seats are, I mean, it's a sports vehicle overall, but when you have the microfiber surface, it's so much more adapts to your body and is so much more comfortable than the animal skin seats they also offer. It's just softer and especially like for the bones, you know, underneath. So, and that's very important to me. With 189, 6'2", still leaves some headroom left here, and steering wheel can be controlled electrically up and down, in and out. Nice carbon fiber. This drive mode selector is now always standard. If you have the Sports Chrono package, you also have this red dot then here for the boost mode. And Sports Chrono package, of course, also always adds this analog clock here on the top. And Yeah, when we now get to the cockpit, maybe you've already discovered it. The analog part in the middle for the ref counter is gone now. So now also the ref counter is all digital, so 12.6-inch digital instruments. Yeah, but actually they look quite cool, but still analog ref meter would still be cool, wouldn't it? And we like that they kept the real buttons here at the steering wheel, for example. Clean, stretched cockpit and 10.9-inch infotainment, everything upgraded. Here in this GTS Hybrid, you also have these two views that you can see also, some battery details and so on, even the battery temperature from the high voltage battery. There you can also see that in the front there's the high voltage battery then, so yeah, that's very interesting, definitely. And of course, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay connection will always be possible. The infotainment system is actually, quite decent, quick enough. Most of the time you will use the smartphone mirroring anyways, I would say. Really nice microfiber covering also here, for example, also for the glove box is dampened. Here is the traditional cup holder for the passenger princess, for example. And then also some upgrades here for the middle console. So first of all, the shifting lever has this brown shaver style, like zzz. We know that already. This has not been changed, and I like that they also kept nice clicking sounds here for the climate unit, manual to control. These indentations here in the middle console are new. They add some more three-dimensional styling for the middle console. I would take it that way. Seat heating buttons, also with nice clicking feedback. Cup holder is right here, electric parking brake. And this is also an upgrade here, the middle armrest, you slide up, and then there's now inductive charging, and it's also cooled so that the smartphone does not overheat. So important, because with so many inductive chargers it just simply overheats, and that's it. And for the rear, that's very interesting, by the way. That's also, like before, if you look there, this is like a no-seater behind, so like it's just a two-seater, so you have just a storage space right here, but you can also still get a rear bench on demand. So also there, the hybrid system has actually no influence. It does have a massive influence on the Nürburgring Nordschleife lap. If you compare the predecessor GTS to this one here now, it drove 8.7 seconds quicker on the Nürburgring Nordschleife in Germany. So this is a massive step forward. Actually, you can already see that as for the performance. Other features, how could they achieve this? Electro-hydraulic anti-tilt control is now also standard for the GTS. The 400-volt board net helps by that, so we can not only do that, but also, for example, this lift here in the front for the basement garage, that the front goes a little bit higher, is way quicker now. Once again, also because they have the 400-volt net. Then PASM is standard for the GTS. That's the adaptive suspension. It also sits 10 millimeters lower than the standard model. And also standard for the GTS now, the rear axle steering. So yeah, you can see this GTS, they call it, by the way, T-Hybrid, as from turbo hybrid, because the turbo is, has this electric turbo now. So definitely the GTS is now a technology machine. Yeah, but as I said, when their argument is that they need that for their high performance engines, I think we could very well expect that the Turbo and the Turbo S also overtake this technology. It's a problem of the camera sensors that great red colors often look orangish, by the way, but I can assure you for your own eye, this is a very cool red color and does not look orangish at all. What's cooler with the convertible, I want to show you here, this wind deflector. This has always been a thing here with this new generation. So this is a very flexible thing, because you have a real strong, large wind deflector, a classic one, but at the same time, it's very easy to unload luggage or also people, because most obviously you see, this then here does have the rear bench. It is always a 2+2 seater, so you see here, when I sit here, there is hardly any space behind it. Of course, I could get inside theoretically, but it's, I know these timecode things are coming, Thomas in the rear seat. But then if the seat is as I would be driving, it would be more like, no. I think today is like, There's a reason that they put some Isofix here on that, so you can at least use that for child seats. But it's more about that you have some maybe like an additional bag on there, yeah, or whatever you want to do with it. But probably not for people. Maybe like on the passenger seat when you move that one all the way forward, and then there's someone behind on the passenger seat or something like that. So we did the test here. Can Leah sit there in the rear behind the passenger seat when it's a little bit more forward? More or less. I mean, she's also not small at all, so yeah. Doesn't work that well. By the way, if you have the 2+2 seater but still want to put something on the rear bench, you don't have to put it on the seat. You can fold down these, and then you have like this more even field here to put a bag on it without damaging the seats or something. Now, let's close the convertible top. See, it always looks spectacular, doesn't it? And for me, it's always the most interesting thing, how do convertibles look like when they're closed? Because me personally, I'm like a big convertible lover, so let's put up all the windows. This is like the button for the rear window. It's interesting. Let's put this one up. There we go. And I think a convertible is well designed when it looks from the outside like equally as good or almost like the coupe. What do you think about this? Pricing, by the way. So you start at 130,000 euros for a base 911. This here as a convertible and also with leather wheels will already be more expensive. A base GTS now with this new hybrid system is at 170,000 euros. But here with all the extras, bells and whistle and so on, you can still already crack like around 200,000 euros. The funny thing is that actually with this new power upgrade, if you compare then like what power and acceleration you get from that one, then theoretically the GTS is now less expensive if you compare it, for example, if you would go for a turbo or something, you know. Yeah, but then, of course, when the Turbo S is coming, they need to put even more something on top right then. And a quick technology deep dive. This is here the rear ship engine concept, and you can see this whole thing here is this mono turbocharger of the hybrid concept. And on the inside there you can see here with the magnets, this is the electric motor that sits inside the turbocharger and is powering the turbocharger. Very interesting. And so this is here in the exhaust on the rear. This is towards the front of the vehicle, and actually like longitudinal from here we have this piece here, which, you know, continues right here. This is then the transmission, 8-speed PDK, dual clutch transmission, and the dual clutch you can see actually right in here. And the main electric motor you can see here, once again here, and it basically sits here inside the transmission, that it has no effect also like on the all-wheel drive distribution when you have that and so on. So everything is working together. This is here the Targa model. So far it will be available only all-wheel drive and also as a GTS. So this is here a GTS, Targa all-wheel drive. By the way, it's also very interesting, the GTS in general is available with or without all-wheel drive, so only rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, but it has the same acceleration figure at these 3 seconds. There's also a new thing here with this so-called T hybrid, that the acceleration figure between the rear-wheel drive and the all-wheel drive does not really differ. To 200 kilometers an hour or 125 miles an hour, the rear-wheel drive is even a little bit quicker. Very interesting, isn't it? And here the Targa, most obviously with this Targa bar here, this has been the typical styling element, and this glass rear roof. So visually the Targa is always something special. But if you decide between convertible and Targa and think about like how much wind do I get in the cabin and so on, what it's more comfortable to drive, I can tell you from my experience, always go for the convertible, because there's less wind turbulence, there's less wind around your neck with the pure convertible than with the Targa. The Targa is actually more, if you decide between coupe and Targa, I would personally say, if you want something more extraordinary. And of course, soon we'll drive the new 911 facelift. So far that you don't have to wait yet, then we also have even more 911 content on our channel.